theme today. I want to talk about the weather. I know it's a great conversation starter, the weather. But as a photographer, if you're a photographer who shoots outdoors, it's one of the most fundamentally important things. So let's talk about the weather.
Well, there are a few different types of weather, of course. It can be sunny, it can be overcast, it can be rainy, it can be windy, it can be foggy, and it can be snowy if you're lucky enough to live in that sort of climate. And it can be very hot. These are some of the weather patterns we have to deal with as photographers, and sometimes you've just got to get out there and shoot because the clock is ticking.
So, the weather. Most fundamental thing a photographer really has to worry about. Because cameras will take photos. There's so many different cameras and they'll take photos. And light, well, you can always light something, but the weather we have to work with.
So this film is not about technical tricks. This film is mostly about saying, you know what? Grey is okay. You know, just like getting old, grey is okay. We don't have to dye our hair. So how do you turn, or how do you think about when the weather is not what you thought it was going to be? How do you make it work? How do you keep yourself happy? And how do you keep your clients happy? What have you got to do there? Well, this is when it comes down to individual artistry. And that's not exactly something that we can teach. What we've got to do is explore what makes us excited about photography. Is it mood? Is it light? Is it texture? Is it perspective? Is it framing? What part of your photography is the thing that you do best? And from there, you can leverage what you do best to turn any photograph in any weather condition, in any lighting condition. You can always turn it into something that makes you excited.
So when thinking about the weather needs to be interpreted. And if we think about the weather as a metaphor for when it's obviously good, sunny, blue sky, looks beautiful, see a lot of that on Instagram, etc. That's the obvious place to be. And as a metaphor, that's a little bit like having your camera on automatic. And you know, I'm not a manual snob, but, and this might sound like it's got nothing to do with weather, but if you have your camera on aperture priority, program mode, or shutter priority, you're not making the decisions about light, about how light is to be exposed. Your camera is doing that. You just need to be aware of that. So you can't break the rules that are set by the camera manufacturer if you go auto. And they're all autos, they're all versions of auto. Because if you're on shutter priority, the aperture is being adjusted to compensate for your shutter decision for the light that the camera and the camera manufacturer think is correct. So on and so forth. So, let's think about the weather. Now, obviously, sunny day, easy, not snowing, not windy, not rainy, not foggy, easy, works, you can do it. It's a great way to be. But what I want for you and for me is that we are making our own artistic choices about the weather. And of course, the weather brings us drama, and it brings us stories. So it's really exciting. It's a really exciting place to be when you can capture that amazing moment in a snowstorm, or in the rain, or in the fog. The other thing is, you might have photographed a subject many, many times in certain weather conditions. And by photographing it in the fog or the rain, it's going to look completely different. So I say, don't worry about the weather. Go out there. You're going to find something new. You're going to find something different. And if you're not on the equivalent of auto mode, you're far more likely to do something that we haven't seen before. And as so many of us are taking photos today, far more than when I started 29 years ago, it's really important for all of us to get outside of our comfort zones and to push the limits. So back to my metaphor, don't shoot on auto all the time. You can shoot on auto whenever you like, just don't do it all the time. That's my advice. And don't shoot sunny weather all the time. It's exciting, and I know it's cold, and it might be dark, and it might be windy, and you might get wet, but it might be worth it. One of the things I always dreamed of doing was photographing rain at night time, and that always seemed impossible. But then, due to technological breakthroughs, and in this case the Nikon D3, I was able to push that camera to its limits, push the lenses I had available to me to the limits, and create something that I didn't think was possible. And here it is. And I'm pumped by what I was able to achieve there. And that's why I keep embracing new gear, because it keeps allowing you to push limits. And that's where I like to live. I like to live out there. So this film is not about answering the question of solving bad weather and making it perfect. It's about saying, here's weather, here's different light. Photography is all about light and the way light bounces off particles, whether it be rain or snow or sleet or fog or whatever. And every single difference means the photograph is completely different. And I warmly invite you to head on out and try some other lighting states, and you find, because you're an artist, and you'll find what you love and what works for you, and then the stories that you can tell will continue to change, and they will continue to inspire you. The weather. Go give it a big hug, take a photo of it. You never know what you might find. Thank you so much for watching this little stream of consciousness about the weather. I hope it helps maybe give you some inspiration to put on your raincoat and head on out there. And you will see different things, and the light is different. It's different in all these conditions. So I hope it inspires you to do that. Please like, please share. Someone recently said me saying that makes me seem old. Well, I'm not 25 anymore, but I've always thought it was true. We need to share to make each other better. That's what this is all about for me. Plus I love making films and I love photography. So it's a win-win-win. I'll see you in the next one. I'm going on holidays with the family for the first time in a very long time. And the next video I'm going to talk about the gear that I'm going to have with me. How am I going to travel super light but still have enough for me to be able to scratch my photographic itch? Not sure. We'll work that out by next week. Have a great week. I'll see you then. Bye for now.